You are listening to the Bell Ringers podcast on Philly Sports Reports, brought to you by SeatGeek. Here are your hosts, Colin Daly and Benjamin Goldstein.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bell Ringers podcast. Colin Daly, Ben Goldstein here. Phillies split in Philadelphia. They're en route to New York as we speak. They were the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and some very unexpected outcomes, some things that we, avoided in 162 games, and we managed to face in our first postseason matchup. So, definitely not how I expected these two games to go, but I'd say it is an acceptable outcome nonetheless. Not perfect, not the goal, but they're right there, right there. We're at a draw right now. Could go either way. So I don't think there's much to complain about at this point. Ben, do you have any initial thoughts on games 1 and 2 you want to share for the good of the group?
Yeah, I'm very shocked that you have nothing to complain about. I have a ton to complain
I'm
about.
sorry, you're right.
These
I phrased
first
that. I
these
phrased
first
that
two
wrong.
games were, when it's Phillies Mets, you expect the unexpected. And the complete unexpected happened in game one, to say the least, in the eighth inning. With the bullpen. Game two was the most Phillies Mets game ever. It was all over the place. And I think I have something to complain about in every way other than the starting pitching.
Starting pitching.
I love when a split is fine. I would like to win too, of course, but I'm fine with the split, kind of. I don't know how they're going to fare in Citi Field, but with these first two games I saw, especially from the offense, I don't have much hope, man. Like game two was so much better offensively, but a lot of the runs, except for two of them, came from the long ball, and you're not going to win all the games like that.
It's a
And then
good
there was
point.
one triple, but So
I guess I
the
should.
two big ones that started it were home runs, and
I guess I.
and game one as well looked like they were relying on the long ball again. But we'll get into all of them.
Yeah, I'll rephrase what I said in the open. There's nothing to complain about when it comes to splitting in the first two games. I don't
Okay.
think that that's necessarily a bad outcome, but you're right. There is a lot we can complain about from, the content of those two games. I mean, there's, the bullpen was a disaster, the offense was a disaster. And the thing is, we're not just picking two or three guys out of the group that I just said. I mean, we can talk about Strom, we can talk about Hoffman, we can talk about Kerkering, we can talk about Trey Turner, we can talk about Alec Boehm, we can mention. I mean, if you look at yesterday's game, pretty much anyone in that lineup outside of Kyle Schwarber, and I guess maybe Cody Clemens, or does he get a pass? I don't know.
No,
That's up for debate still.
yeah, I'm going to start with the offense.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
start
appropriate.
there. All right, we'll start with game one because that's where the offense was really bad. Of course, third pitch of the game, Kyle Schwarber on Kodai Senga, second deck, unbelievable. What better start could you have? It looked like all the things we saw were aligning. The Phillies postseason were back. We've been waiting for this. Here they are. There was nothing
Talk about
after.
deception.
There was nothing after. All these guys have said is they can't wait to get back to Red October, see the bank packed, everyone on their feet, waving those towels, which I have a lot to complain about the fans, but I've done that already. I did that in the pregame show on Sunday afternoon. Go back and watch it. I'm not doing it again. There's just nothing. They were chasing again. Horrible at bats. It literally, if you put NLCS games 6 and 7 in front of my face, and I compared it to NLDS game 1, I am watching the same thing. Bad plate discipline, an insane chase rate. Let me pull up the number. It was hard to watch. And of being there, it gave me like nothing. Phillies chase rate in game 1 was 32.6%. 32.6%. They had 2
Yikes.
hits before the 8th inning, and that 8th inning was garbage time. Both of them came from Kyle Schwarber. They had 1 hit after the 3rd pitch of the ballgame. And I mean, you
Oh
point
my
out
Lord.
Trey Turner. I can put up Trey Turner at bats, Alec Bohm at bats, Nick
At
Castellanos
that
at
point, Nick
bats.
Cost,
Here,
yeah.
let's look at everybody. Bryce Harper, 0 for 4. Or Trey Turner, 0 for 4. Harper, 1 for 2 with 2 walks. The 1 hit came in garbage time. Castellanos, 1 for 4. His at-bats were terrible. He had 2 strikeouts. If you throw him a ball away and out and away, low and away, he's swinging at it. Alec Bohm, 0 for 4. Threw a hissy fit in somewhere in the game. I didn't see it, which is why he was benched in game 2, which I want to talk about. Bryson Stott, 0 for 3. JT Realmuto, 0 for 3. Brandon Marsh, 0 for 4. Johan Rojas was 0 for 2. Rojas did work a nice walk, so I will give him that. Cody Clemens, 1 for 1, whatever. They had 5 hits. 3 of them came in the 8th. Like, I don't know. It was a tough one. It was, they've been waiting to get to that point, game 1, and they come out flat. Game 2, there was nothing until the 6th inning where Harper hit a homer.
Yeah, that was miracle time.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies were playing desperate, and they were back to chasing, back to the same stuff that they were doing. I did think Trey Turner was a little better. He had 2 hits. He stole bases, which was nice. Rojas stole a base. So it's good to see that they're pretty aggressive on the base pass against the Mets, who are horrible against base stealers. So that was encouraging. But you get nothing from your offense the first, I don't know, the first 15, 16 innings of the postseason.
Yeah,
you get nothing.
Well, there's 2 facets to this argument from the way I see it. One is you can't really have too much of an issue with 7 runs. The other facet, which I think is what worries me and you and a lot of others, is that they're lacking quality and they're lacking consistency right now. They're not stringing together hits. They're not having quality at bats. They're not seeing pitches. I mean, Luis Severino had thrown like 50 some pitches in the 5th inning
Yeah.
because they were donating strikes to him like he's a charity. It was ridiculous. So again, at the end of the day, is 7 runs something we can sit here and critique? That's arguable, but the
I mean,
quality at bats and the way they got those runs, I think, could be problematic in the future.
I think the end of game 2 was huge, especially that 8th inning. The 8th inning against Edwin Diaz, a guy the Phillies have struggled against, to finally get to him. You got a Turner walk. You got and then a Harper walk. Turner struck out. It was a Harper walk because Diaz gave him nothing to hit.
Whole series, he really hasn't gotten much to hit aside from homer.
You got a big base hit from Nick Castellanos, roped it down the right field line, which was huge. Then you had Bryson Stott on a full count.
On his birthday.
Stroked it down the right field line, brought home Castellanos and Harper. Phillies took the lead on Edwin Diaz. Stott got a triple. Shout out Betty's triples. And it was ginormous. And they finally got to Edwin Diaz. It's a guy they've struggled against. And to get to him is a huge confidence booster, not just for the series, but could be for the whole postseason. All it takes in baseball is one swing of the bat to get things going. And I think that swing from Bryce Harper, from Nick Castellanos, and from Bryson Stott in the 6th and the 8th inning to get those runs, you tie the game, then you take the lead. I think if they are able to go into Citi Field and get something out of there, it's because of those swings in that game that are going to be able to hopefully fuel this lineup into something they are hoping to be, and they have been in the postseason in the past. And of course, the Castellanos walk-off. He had the game-tying homer, he had the big hit, and then he had the walk-off in game 2. After, apparently cursing out the crowd because they were sarcastically cheering him. That's he had an Alec Bohm moment. And, it's going to be washed away because of what he was able to do later in the game. But, these big things fuel these guys. And another note on Castellanos, having him protect Harper was not going well. Now that Castellanos may be heating up, I think that homer is fueling him a little bit. That adds protection to Harper. Now pitchers have to pitch to Bryce Harper, which is dangerous in October.
That's a very good point that completely slipped my mind, is that Harper just now instantly has a lot more protection. He should start to see some strikes in games 3, 4, and potentially 5. So, I think my overall outlook on these 2 games was that at the end of the day, the Phillies did a job. Not the best job, not the worst job. But I think the lesson you can take away is that even though you had the heroes today, Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, what we've seen in this series says that every single man on their roster in some way could make an improvement based on what we've seen. I mean, Nick Castellanos was by far, would we say, the MVP of today's game?
Yeah, he came up with the big hits when they needed him.
Right. I would also say he had arguably the worst at bat in the last 2 games when he swung at 4 pitches, all of which were a foot outside the zone.
But I think
One of, if not the worst at bats.
That's just who Nick Castellanos is. Like, he's gonna swing at those. He has no plate discipline. He's literally said in the past he goes up there to swing and hit the baseball. Like, he said that to the media earlier this year. But it's not. It's just like, if you're wasting at bats, you're wasting protection for Harper. It can happen. But we saw it last year when Castellanos gets hot. Boy, does he get hot. And we saw it in the NLDS last year. Hopefully we can get in the NLDS this year. And hopefully it doesn't phase out in the NLCS if the Phillies get them. I think this is just, this game 2, is something that can fuel Castellanos. And the end of this game, this offense was on fire. It can fuel the offense maybe. And also, quick note on Johan Rojas. He had a really nice walk in game 1, which is really all he did offensively. And then he had a nice base hit in game 2. Like,
did he not have a base hit in game 1?
You're getting something from Johan Rojas in the 9 hole. So,
you sure he didn't have a hit yesterday?
I am. I have the box score up. He did not have a hit. He was 0 for 2 with a walk.
Infield, an error maybe, or maybe I was watching a different game. What? Oh no, okay, yeah. Maybe it was the walk. Or maybe he almost beat out an infield single. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Rojas has been one of the few bright spots I think we've seen from the offense so far when it comes to consistency. And I don't think he's looked as lost at the plate from what I've seen. Marsh really hasn't been great out of the 8 hole.
He's over.
Nor have we seen much from Real Muto. But I do think that having the top of the lineup heat up will help this team down the stretch, right? Because you have Schwarber, who we know just hits like crazy in the postseason. We can say the same about Harper, Castellanos when he's hot. Really, I think this offense right now rests on Trey Turner and Alec Bohm. I think that if Turner and Bohm...
You didn't see Alec Bohm in game 2. He didn't start.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you think about this, but I think that Trey Turner and Alec Bohm are the keys for keeping this lineup, turning this lineup over. Because you cannot have a guy in the 2 hole and the 5 hole that are automatic outs.
Well, I think I liked what Turner. He had 2 hits in game 2. He stole second and third base. So that was cool. So hopefully he's starting to, make something happen. And then, Bohm, we didn't see anything from him today in game 2, and he didn't do anything in game 1.
I
Which
agree.
I don't know how I feel about the benching. He's hitting 170 over the last month. He was horrible last postseason. Like, if this is just how this is going to continue with Bohm, this might be the last time we see him in a Phillies uniform. And people aren't ready to say that. Aiden Miller's ready. He's a third
Yeah, that's a
baseman.
good point.
So I mean, I'm a Bohm fan. When he had an incredible season, 40-something doubles, 97 RBI. But it's just the last 2 postseasons, when it turns to October, he is vacant in a vital part in the lineup. And you can't have that.
He
Especially when you
is.
have the best infielder prospect who's ready to go.
Yeah, so back to the Turner thing. I'm not critiquing him at all because of his performance today. You're right. The 2 hits and the 2 stolen bases were huge. But I'm just saying that being nestled between Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper in a postseason lineup is a huge responsibility. And having those 3 guys in a row and knowing that you're able to get those 3 to consistently produce, plus a hot Castellanos in the 4 hole, I mean, that is a lineup that not even that's just a sequence of 4 batters that not even the best rotation or the best bullpen in baseball will be able to work around. So I really do think that the consistency of Turner will dictate the top of this lineup. Um, and the top of this lineup fuels the bottom. So I think Turner has a huge responsibility. I'm curious to see, how Turner's results in the rest of the series reflect the team's results. I think there could be some correlation there. Um, yeah,
Well, when
and
he
the
got 2
Bohm
hits, they scored
thing,
7 runs. So
exactly, yeah. Um, the Bohm thing, I don't totally know. And I'm looking, it's funny you say that, what you said about Turner, 'cause I'm looking at the box score from yesterday. Turner goes 0 for 4. Schwarber reaches base twice. Harper reaches base 3 times. But the guy between them doesn't reach once. 2 runs. You're right, there's something there. Um,
that's a good article,
but
Colin.
yeah, yes, it is. Um, and we'll talk about an interesting article that you wrote shortly too. But yeah, I don't know. This could be it for Bohm. I mean, I think they're going to have to move on with one of Bohm or Stott because you don't want to just trade Miller away. I don't think. And there's going to become a point where you can't keep relying on the maturity of one of those 2 guys. So if they think that this is what we're going to get out of Bohm, is that a player they think is worth keeping? And very soon you'll be able to say the same about Bryson Stott. I mean, he's this next year will be his 4th season, right, in the major leagues.
Yeah, this is Bohm's 5th, I believe.
Yeah. And
20,
did I say
20,
Bohm? Sorry, I
21,
meant
22,
Stott.
23. Yeah, this is 5 for Bohm, which is crazy.
And next year will be 4 for Stott.
Yeah, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah.
You got to start. They're not kids anymore. Bryson Stott
No,
turned 27
he
today.
did.
Like, they're not young
27 years
anymore, these
old.
guys.
No, not at all. So decisions will have to be made. And I mean, and postseason success is a huge factor in that, right? Because I mentioned it in the article that I wrote for our post-game recap for game 1, is the regular season is meaningless once you get to the postseason. Everything gets wiped away. You have a clean slate. And if you're not able to be productive on that clean slate and, produce with, runners in scoring position and power and, the things that we're looking for in modern day hitters, and you're not going to find a spot on a team, especially one that's been consistently making it to the postseason, finishing atop the standings for the last 3 years. Um,
I think there
so yeah,
will also.
decisions will have to be made.
Yeah, I think all 3 members of the daycare. Brandon Marsh has.
Yeah,
You're
you're
not getting
totally
much
right.
from him in the postseason the last few years. You know. I mean, he had a great
Yeah.
start to the regular season. You didn't get much really in the regular season either. Like he was just kind of, like you can't
He
have all
always
these
seems
guys.
to be very good at the beginning of the year.
You can't have all these vibe guys.
Yeah, you're right.
They
They have to address the backup catcher position too.
Well, I don't think Stubbs is going anywhere. I don't hate like he's not a great hitter, but he's a fine enough catcher as a backup. So except when
I agree with
JT,
that.
how many years does Real Muto have left?
Yeah. We get to
So
remember though, if there are internal options, free internal options that are better, those have to be exercised over the Vibes guy. I mean, we have no reason to believe that Garrett Stubbs will ever be a better catcher than Rafael Marchand. Do we?
I love Garrett Stubbs just as the person.
I do too.
So like
I do too.
I know people that have met him and he's like just the same person. But it's like Marchand is
Never
just
liked
like,
him.
Marchand's the next option.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they'll do. I mean, that's four guys right there that are actually like it. I don't want to call them issues, but are um, you know,
And
circumstances that will need to be addressed in the offseason.
and God forbid this series goes wrong. Like Juan Soto is a free agent this offseason. The Phillies outfield has been horrible this season.
Uh,
Like if you think about it,
no, yeah, you're
like
right.
they got an ad on the jersey, they got ads all over the stadium. Like, they got rid of Dollar Dog Night, they're trying to save for Juan Soto.
Yeah,
Anyway,
maybe it's all a ploy.
it's all
They're
play. It's
all in
always
it
been
for
Juan
Soto.
Soto. The starting pitchers have been great. Zach
Hmm.
Wheeler, 7 innings, no runs, 9 strikeouts, 111 pitches.
Yep, think so.
Yeah, 111, 68 of them strikes. He had an insane first inning. Like 11 pitches, 11 strikes. He reached 99. That was insane. What else we got?
That was the
Christopher
ideal first
Sanchez.
inning right there.
Sanchez was exactly what they needed from him. 5 innings, 2 runs. I was like,
He
I
made
thought
one mistake.
Sanchez was perfect for me.
One
today.
mistake.
Yeah. And the offense at the time wasn't able to do anything, so Sanchez got no decision. But they were able to, the offense backed him in the back part. But, I mean, you wasting that Wheeler start, it wasn't the best I've ever seen Wheeler. He did lose some command at some point, throwing good amount of, not as many strikes. But, man,
I don't know
was
if
he
I'd say, I
working.
mean,
Man, was he working.
His command wasn't there because the Mets had good approaches. He didn't walk 4 batters because he couldn't place his pitches. If he wanted to, he could have had 0 walks that game. He just didn't want to throw them fastballs down the middle, and you have to respect that. Because he knows that this offense is good. He was in control that whole game, but he was being smart. And he knew he had the pitches for it too. There's no reason for Wheeler to be overly aggressive, and I hate to say this, but at that point, there was no reason for him to go in there overly aggressive, knowing that you have a bullpen with Hoffman, Strom, Kerkering, Estevez. Like he had 4 guys behind him that he could trust. Why are we? There's no reason to attack hitters with a fastball down the middle. So I think he was in control. That was one of the best Wheeler starts we've seen this season. I think.
I mean, if you just look at that's the best stat line I think I've ever seen from Zach Wheeler. I mean, not looking at the game, but 7 innings, no runs, 9 strikeouts, 111 pitches. Like
single
that's
hit.
That's like Roy Halladay used to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, single hit is ridiculous. That's why I was able to go 7
1
innings.
Hit. Yeah.
But he worked the Mets hitters so well. It was incredible. I mean, they did not know what was coming once that entire game. Not once. They were fooled.
Wheeler got a no decision. He got no run support. Obviously, we went over that. And then in came the bullpen in the 8th inning. Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strom combined for 1 out in the 8th inning. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was just, you hope it's rust.
24-minute nightmare.
I guess you just hope it's rust from these guys. I mean, they haven't pitched in at that time 5 days. But is it rust? Is it not? I don't know because it kind of continued in game 2.
It's the most concerning thing for me right now is the bullpen. So, did you know that this bullpen has pitched um, 6 innings in this series? One has been scoreless.
It was
That
yesterday's
is
inning.
terrifying. It was.
Yeah, they allowed 3 homers in 4 innings. The bullpen in game 2.
That
Alonso,
won't work.
Nimmo, and Vientos.
Vientos, yep. It just can't happen, unfortunately. Um, I mean, this Mets team is too good, and I don't know because we've seen these guys pitch well, and honestly, I don't think any of them were that bad. I mean, I thought Kirkering looked pretty good. Hoffman was not great. Um, Hoffman was
He's
not great
Hoffman's the most
yesterday.
concerning because of his outing to end the season in Washington. He allowed like
Yeah,
4 runs, and he came right back and had a. I mean, what did he throw? He threw he threw not even an inning. Allowed 2 hits,
0.
3 earned runs, and a walk. No
Yeah, I
strikeout.
was
And all the Mets
Strom.
hits in game 1, they had 8 hits and they were all singles. 7 of them came in innings 8 to 9. Does that
Strom,
concern you? The Mets playing small ball and the Philly. Could the Phillies' incapability to play small ball lose them this series?
it could. Really only so much that you can control, though. I mean, the goal of the game is barreling up the baseball, and it helps, but the team that does it the most isn't always the team that wins games. Um, like today, I thought Matt Strom was great. I thought he was locating well. I mean, the ball that Mark Vientos hit out
It was at his
was a
letters.
fastball that was like not near the strike zone.
It was literally here at his letters.
Yes, I don't know. I'm not sure how he hit that baseball. I mean, Matt Strom gets a strikeout on that pitch 19 times. Sorry, I shouldn't say strikeout. He gets a ball that stays in the ballpark 19, not in the ballpark, 99 times out of 100 with that pitch.
It's
That was
just
just a terrible situation.
it's
He
just
doesn't
the
get
run that the Mets
contact
are
on
on.
that ball.
It's just the Mets magic right now. Like they're just doing these to
Well,
teams. Like they've just been coming back and beating teams all week.
when was the last time you saw somebody hit a home run off of an all-star pitcher on a pitch outside the strike zone? Probably can't think of one off the top of your head. It doesn't really happen that much. And we both watch a
Reese
lot of
Hoskins
baseball.
on Spencer Strider in the 2022 NLDS.
No, there you go. It was 3 seasons ago. So
I don't
that's
know.
your
I just
answer.
remember that he went down for that ball. I
Yeah,
think.
he
I don't
did.
know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Um, no, I think part of that could have been Strider's velocity was way down. He had
Yes.
a lot more time to react. I mean, he was literally throwing 8 miles per hour slower than he usually was at that point, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought Strom was okay today. He again, just like Sanchez, he made one mistake. They're the same guy. Um, one mistake. So I'd say Hoffman, I'm worried about. The rest of them, not so much. I won't lie, I fell asleep during Ruiz's inning, so
He allowed
I
a
didn't
home.
catch that. But I'm sure he was okay-ish.
He
I saw
allowed
he
a
allowed
home.
3 hits and a homer, so it couldn't have been that good. But it is tough because, of course, the whole argument that everything changes in the postseason is just proves itself time and time again. Then at the same token, I mean, Hoffman, Strom, Ruiz, these are guys who pitched 50, 60 games during the regular season. What's like, why is the empire falling down now? I don't get it. And I know you don't have an answer to that question. No one does. Um, I don't know.
So games 1 and 2. Phillies split against the Mets. Your biggest concerns, the chase rate. My biggest
Yep.
concerns are the chase rate and specifically Jeff Hoffman, but majority of the bullpen. And
Yeah.
those are
I'm
two
right
big
there with you.
things. Those are two big things.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the chase rate and the bullpen as well. I mean, I'm not concerned about the bullpen. I'm concerned about Jeff Hoffman. I'm not concerned about the bullpen as a whole. I think I should be. Um, but I just cannot wrap my head around the idea that, you know, wiping your stat line means wiping the whole regular season. I just don't get it. And I don't think I ever will. Like, why can guys be so dominant for an entire year and then calendar turns to October, stakes rise just a little bit, and it's just a complete and utter implosion.
Well, we see with the offense, they get home run happy, try to be the hero. It doesn't work. Saw it NLCS game 6 and 7 last year. We saw it
Yeah.
in the first 15, 16 innings of this series, and hopefully it gets turned around. But they're gonna have to deal with one looming thing. The shadows.
Ah, yes.
Batman comes out of the shadows.
That was
Batman.
terrifying.
Yeah, man, they're worried about the shadows. What the heck?
I don't know. I've never been impacted by the shadows before, but I've also never played baseball when they're throwing it at me 100 miles per hour. So hard for me to comment on that.
I mean,
Um,
it is a real thing. Like shadows are a real thing. Like
well,
if
yeah,
you
I
watch
have one of my
the
own.
cam of when Wheeler threw 99, like you see it and then you don't see it out of the hand, and then when it gets there, it's just this black ball, and you have like a third of a second to hit it. Like it's very difficult to hit it. But my biggest thing with it is how Castellanos and Turner both said that both teams started to score runs when the shadows were
At the
gone.
beginning of the game.
Um, your guy hit a home run on the third pitch of the game when the shadows were at its worst. Also, I got up to my seats and I said the shadows are bad today. That was the first thing I said. But I mean, you had a home on the third pitch of the game where the shadows are at its worst, and then you also when the shadows were gone. I only saw one team getting hits and scoring runs, and it wasn't you guys. So that's my comment on the shadows.
Well, there were shadows today,
Yeah, and
and
then
the
the
Phillies
Phillies
scored
started.
7 runs all late in the game.
Yeah, but
So
the thing is, we're gonna have to deal with this all series. Games started 4-5. At
yeah,
Citi Field, you're gonna. I mean, it's not gonna be for as long because it's the hour later, but you're gonna have shadows. When you come
no,
back here
that's
for
true.
Game 5, if you come back, the game's gonna be at 4 o'clock if it doesn't get moved. So it's
Very
gonna
true.
have to be something they adapt to.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what they look like in New York. I've never really paid attention um when I've watched Mets games, but
Well,
yeah,
because when
it's
the
weird.
postseason, the MLB does this, it's so stupid. They have their games so they're not competing against each other. No other sport cares about competing against each other with their playoffs because they have games start at 4 in the afternoon, 1 in the afternoon on a weekday. It's ridiculous. So many people are going to not be able to watch these games because they're at work. It's ridiculous.
Don't you think they care about like total viewers among the different games, not like I don't think they're really actually getting more viewers by. I'm sorry, they must be because they wouldn't keep doing it if they weren't. But it just doesn't make sense to me.
Does the AL even play on Tuesday?
Couldn't tell you. I don't follow the
Because
AL
they
until
had
the
an
World
off day
Series.
Sunday.
I guess they play tomorrow then.
Well, they definitely played their game 2 on Monday. So hold on. Monday, Tuesday, the AL isn't even playing. So why do you have these games at 5:00? Then the other game's at 9.
Well, I
I
guess
don't know.
that makes a little bit of sense. Why don't they do
Yeah,
like
but like you can't have the
8:30?
game at 6. Six
Yeah,
and
no,
nine.
that's true.
The games are 2.5 hours. So I don't know. Whatever.
One more question before we preview games 3 and 4. When, if at all, are we going to see Jose Alvarado? Is
I
he
don't
an
know. I
option
was
now
thinking
that
about
seems
that
like
today that we
everyone's
like haven't
struggling?
seen him at all. I don't know. Like his end of the season was just like I mean, he looked good in a few appearances at the end of the season. Topper may just not trust him because of what we saw throughout the season.
Yeah. I mean, he's
But
got a
can you trust
he's
Hoffman now too?
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think now that we've got a whole bunch of guys that we thought we could trust and we don't, is it time to turn to someone else? I mean, Alvarado has a decent career line in the postseason, 3.43 ERA in 22 games, 21 innings, 24 strikeouts. Um, I don't know if that's an option that you consider or if it's, you know, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like, we trusted these guys, Hoffman, Strom, Kirkring, because of the regular season. Now we don't trust Alvarado because of the regular season. Nothing seems to be translating. So do we give the guy with some postseason success a shot? I don't know. I think you might have to. Um, but
We'll
again,
see.
that's all dependent on where the Phillies end up in games 3 and 4, which we're going to talk about right now. That was
Before
pretty
we
smooth
talk
for
about
me.
before we talk about games
Oh,
3 and 4, we need to talk about the sponsor of the episode.
oh, yep,
Episode
that's
number
right.
s- episode number 70 of the Bell Ringers podcast. SeatGeek, they're great. You're great. And because you're so great, SeatGeek is offering you a great deal. Use code Philly Sports Report to save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Download the app. Go on the website. The link is in the description of the YouTube and the podcast. PHILLYSPORTSREPORT. What are we doing, Colin?
Hold the S. Depressed edition.
Oh man, this is sad. Hold the yeah. You're gonna hold the S. Um, Philly Sports Support, $20 off first purchase. Link in the description. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring. Get your game 3 and 4 tickets on SeatGeek. They're much cheaper than Citizens Bank Park. I'll tell you that right now.
There's a chance I might be in attendance for one of those games.
Ooh, you're going to New York?
Yeah, I might be.
Oh.
There's a
Colin's going to use
there's
SeatGeek
a
and Philly Sports
chance.
Sport and save $20 off. All right. Games. This NLDS has turned into a best of 3 series. And whoever wins game 1 of a best of 3 series in the MLB,
Don't say
aka the
it.
wild card, has won the series 100% of the time. True fact.
Wait, seriously?
Since 2022, when they started the wild card officially outside of 2020, whoever's won game 1 has won the series 100% of the time.
Well,
So
we're here to change that.
whoever wins game 3 may just win this series. And the game 3 starters are Aaron Nola, who is 14-8 with a 3.57 ERA, and Sean Manaea, who is 12-6 with a 3.47 ERA. Manaea has turned into like kind of a guy for the Mets a little bit, where Nola has been, awesome in the start of the postseason for the Phillies. But this time, he's starting his postseason on the road. With Sanchez getting game 2, Nola was bumped to game 3. Topper likes his experience, in the postseason, so he's starting in the first postseason game for the Mets, which is sure to be a raucous crowd. Expect a lot of grimaces, a lot of OMGs. It's gonna be horrible. I've already heard enough of the OMG and the grimace thing with this national broadcast team, which absolutely sucks. Like this, Adam Amin is terrible. Who
Yeah,
was it Wainwright that said that the Phillies fans turn on their own team?
can't remember. Was that today?
Yeah, it was either him or Przinsky. Someone said it, and I lost
I'll
it.
say poor Pierzynski. He's not getting a lot of friends online. I haven't seen many things about Amin and Wainwright, but Pierzynski's not making any friends on the
Then it was probably
interwebs.
him that said something. I don't like. They're very Mets centric, but that's what you're gonna get with national broadcasts.
And
So yeah, what do you like in Game
yeah,
3? Big game.
I think Thompson made a good choice going with Sanchez in game 2 and Nola in game 3. We've touched on this subject before. Nola has a lot of postseason experience, like you mentioned. I don't think he gets overly phased by his environment. We see he's very good in heat. I don't think the crowds would bother him either, and I think we're bound to see a very erratic and ecstatic crowd in New York.
Hmm.
Um, and then for game number 4, we have Ranger Suarez going against Jose.
Projected
Yes,
Ranger Suarez.
going against Jose Quintana. Um, so we'll see how that shapes out. Quintana also has had some pretty decent success in the postseason last few years.
He was great in
Um,
Milwaukee. Game
yeah,
3. He
and
was
even
awesome.
back when he was with St. Louis, he was very good. I know he faced the Phillies in the
22
2022 NLDS Game 1.
wild
Nope,
card.
NLDS Game 2.
Wild
Wild
card.
card Game 2. Took me a while to get there.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah, Ranger in September, 6.04 ERA. He had a
all
5
right,
ERA in
that's
August.
not great.
So I
Let me
mean,
ask
that's not awesome, man. So game 3 is a
now,
must win for the Phils.
historically, October, Ranger has held his own. Um, he's famous for getting the final out of that National League Championship Series in 2022. He had some very big starts um, in 2022 and 23. So hopefully he was just, making sure his tank was full for October. And that's why we saw those struggles toward the end of the regular season. But
If
I thought,
here's my question: if the Phillies lose Game 3, should Zach Wheeler start Game 4, and should Sanchez start Game 5, and Ranger goes to the bullpen?
no, Zach really threw 111 pitches. I don't think he's going to be very fresh.
Yeah, do
I
it in the
would
postseason.
put,
Or do you
I
have
would,
Ranger throw like a few innings in Game 4, and then you have Wheeler come out of the bullpen?
that's what I was going to recommend.
If the situation is right.
Yes. Yep. If the situation's right. Definitely not pushing Ranger Suarez at all. Um, I don't think they should be afraid to go to the bullpen with Suarez on the bump. Because the number of hits that we've seen him allow over the last few games, it worries me that things could unravel pretty quickly if just one or two base runners get on. He doesn't have 2 outs. That's where I think things could go downhill for him.
So, who the Phillies winning both and clinching the NLCS in New York? Are the Mets winning both and clinching their first NLCS since 2015?
Yeah, we're coming
Or
back to Philly.
are we splitting and we're playing a Game 5 in Philadelphia?
We're coming back to Philadelphia. We're coming home.
Coming home.
We're bringing
Coming.
back out the rally towel that I just folded up so nicely that I'm not going to take out. And we are waving those rally towels at the bank for a game 5. Mark my words.
I will not mentally be able to handle a Game 5. Just putting it out there.
It's going to be a long line at the cardiovascular clinic in Philadelphia on, well, what's that on? Would that be on Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, long line. Defibrillators, pacemakers, people are going to be struggling. Yeah, that would be a lot, wouldn't it?
Would be a lot. And this has been a lot in this episode. So thank you for everybody sticking around, watching, listening. We'll be back after Game 4. Hopefully, we're talking about either a Phillies win or a Game 5
An
coming up.
NLCS.
Hopefully.
NLCS is what I hope we're talking about.
Hopefully. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. Thank you to SeatGeek. Make sure to tune in to all the Phillies pregame shows an hour before each game on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Follow the pod on Twitter, like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching and listening. Let's see you, Colin.
See you, Ben. Go Phillies.
This has been the Bell Ringers podcast on Philly Sports Reports, brought to you by SeatGeek. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Philly Sports Reports wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow the podcast on X and PSR on all social media. Also, consider leaving a review. Catch Colin and Benjamin's writing on phillysportsreports.com, along with following both on X. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the show.